Hi guys, this is Dan. Huge welcome if you're new here. We all have a fantasy book or author that everybody seems to like, but it is not just for you to say no. So today I'm going to tackle the unpopular opinion tag to share books, series, authors, characters, tropes that just didn't work for me. Let's see if we agree, or if not, the door is that way. Feel free to leave. I'm just joking. But first of all, I want to say a huge thank you to my Patreon because without their support, it is not easy to keep on creating. So if you enjoy what you are watching, you want to meet some new friends or find some reading buddies, you may consider joining my Patreon and the link is always in the description. Without further ado, let's dive into this unpopular opinion tag. First of all, we have a popular book or series that I don't like. Don't hate me here because I can come up with 3 answers. The first one I have here is 5 Broken Blades by Corland. I just simply don't get it and can't get it. It is a fantasy romance featuring 6 main characters who were assigned to assassinate the God King. It promises some deception, lies, and this game will be very dangerous. So after reading that synopsis, you expect this book could be quite dark, would be like full of mind games, but turns out it is really romance heavy. I told you we're going to follow 6 characters, right? And they are actually working in pair in the very beginning, but they all ship together instantly. Maybe it is like love at first sight, or maybe it is a crush. When I was reading this book, I was like, what's the rush for? I just find it in the very first book in a brand new fantasy series. The author trying so hard to develop every love interest of these characters, but it just didn't work for me. The writing is pretty average, should I say. Never in my life I would imagine myself criticizing someone else's writing. And the twists and turns are quite obvious and lack a bit of a wow factor. It is a bit style if there's any over substance. To be honest, I find it is more like a YA than a proper adult fantasy romance. And I can't believe how fast they pushed the sequel out, and I think there's going to be one out every year, and that is really quick. The second one I have here is slightly different because it got a bit of an age, and I'm talking about the Riftwar Saga by Raymond E. Feist. This is an 80s fantasy, and I know it is always important to read books from different period of time, so that in a way you can get how the modern fantasy author got their inspiration from, or how the older titles laid a good foundation. I have also tried out other older fantasy books, let's say The Wheel of Time or the Memory, Sorrow and Thorn series. But coming to the Riftwar Saga, I love the concept of a portal magic and a completely foreign race invading our world. And there are plenty of characters coming from different races. I can only finish the very first volume. I guess the reason is down to the pacing. I just find every chapter is really long, and the flow of every chapter is kind of similar. Once our characters discover this external threat, they will travel to different kingdoms to warn them about these potential threats and to see different sides of this world. When you read the first chapter like this, you will be, oh, that is interesting. When you come across with the second one, you will still think it is fun, but turns out it is like a meet and greet. I managed to finish the first volume and get to the second one, but at last, I just don't give a F about everything. The last one I have here is a new release of 2025, and it is The Devils by Joe Abercrombie. It was my first time to read any work by this author. Given with how popular, how hyped the First Law universe is, my expectation before getting to this one is like this high. But I just don't know why I didn't really enjoy it. I find the plot is a bit okay-ish, and the structure of every session, every part is almost similar. And the characters, alright, they're like badass, but how they communicate, how often they throw this kind of dirty, nasty, bloody jokes to each other, just make them a bit the same. It was a bit of a letdown because I have heard so many people loving the First Law universe and putting The Devils to their most anticipated release of the year. I still managed to finish The Devils, but my impression of Joe Abercrombie now is like, should I really start the First Law universe now? Then we have a book or series that people don't really like but I love. I don't know why or how this is coming from. There's like always a huge river dividing the romantasy and the traditional fantasy readers. My perspective is always to try. If you genuinely try a new concept and you didn't really click with it, it is fine. But if you don't even give an effort to try some new things and you just say verbally you don't like it, what's the point? So if I need to pick a book that some may not enjoy but I do, it would be House of Earth and Blood by Sarah J. Maas. I will just comment on book 1 here because book 2 is and I haven't started book 3 yet because I haven't read the Akota series. I just find it is like an easy excuse to disregard Sarah J. Maas only because she is a romantasy writer. But ask yourself honestly, to those who say you don't like Sarah J. Maas or you don't like romantasy in general, have you ever tried one yet? I think why Crescent City works for me is how Sarah J. Maas explores the trauma of Bryce and try to figure out what had happened to her close friend Denali, and of course the unexpected romantic encounter with the Archangel Hunt. I also enjoyed the conflict in the second half of the book and I got really emotional for one character. But here I wouldn't say too much about book 2 because we are talking about books that I love. So it means I didn't love book 2. The third tag here is an author that I can't seem to get into. This one is actually quite tricky to answer because for me, I would say my reading is actually pretty diverse and would try out different authors. And I think if you need to say an author that you can't really connect to, that means that you have to at least try out different works by them first. Is it the logic here? Is it like this? But if I need to drop a name here for the sake of this video, I would say Stephanie Garber. Don't get me wrong, she hasn't done anything wrong. It's just because this year I tried her most popular work, Once Upon a Broken Heart, and I just couldn't connect to the characters or the plot. You think this is going to be a story about a main character returning 3 kisses to the god, but turns out it is about like court politics or court romance, and later even turns into a murder mystery. I mean, in a adult fantasy, this main character is also quite naive, which is something that I can't really stand. Most importantly, this book didn't say anything about reading the prequel first. I would say it is an essential read because it is the backstory of one of the main characters. And obviously, I missed that out. I just simply don't get why this author is so hyped. And I mean, also look at how crazy the price is of this set of books from Fairy Loot. The resale is crazy for just 3 books. The fourth tag is a book or series that I have no interest in reading. Such a shady question. I think over the last 2 years, especially after setting this channel up, I did try out some more popular authors or like series, like all those that I have already mentioned, The Wheel of Time, Greenbook Saga, Popular, or even for indie series, let's say the Echo Saga or the Bound and the Broken series. I even had a look on Google and see did I miss out any big fantasy title. Out of everything, some are already on my TBR if I haven't read them yet, but there's really one that I have absolute no interest in starting it, and it is the Kingkiller Chronicle by Patrick Rothfuss. I know, it is like a very popular, very hype, but very well beloved series. But the reason why I have absolute no interest is only because I much prefer a complete series, let's say The Wheel of Time, The Poppy War, or maybe it is by an author that is like working very hard on it, let's say the Cosmere, the Stormlight Archive. I think in the Kingkiller Chronicle, you will get some well-written characters, interesting magic system, but the one that praised a lot is perhaps the best, the most lyrical writing that you can get in fantasy. It sounds like a really good reason to start it, right? But I know that there's only 2 books in this series, and there is such a huge time gap between the second book and the mysterious upcoming third one. One thing I don't really like is to leave a series open for a very long time and you almost forget everything. Then the author suddenly announced, hey, my sequel is coming out and you need to do a reread about it. And that is the reason why I still haven't and don't really see myself starting the Kingkiller Chronicle at all. Then a popular trope that you are tired of seeing. To be honest, even running this channel for 2 years now, sometimes I still don't get what tropes am I reading. I need to look up on like Goodreads or like looking at others' reviews first. I know some of the good old ones, the ones that has been used quite a lot. Let's say the Chosen One, let's say the Dark Lord, let's say the school setting. I have no problem with these tropes, and sometimes I even appreciate how the modern fantasy author take a step forward and dig deeper to these like classic tropes. But there is one I absolutely hate, and it is enemies to lovers. I think to me, relationship is something that takes time to develop. From why these two characters are enemies, you may need to consider the world building of the story. Then you need these two characters to meet and even share their inner insecurities. And finally coming to the moment they turn their relationship a 180 from enemy to lover. I don't think it is something that can be easily, conveniently done. For books, especially for those that I have received from the Gospel GSFF and they are the Romanticy, this trope is used quite a lot. But I just think the length of these new releases doesn't have enough room to capture and develop this relationship organically. So it is always poorly done, and sometimes you may even question, when is that switch of flipping done? I just don't want to have two characters to have sex and say like, now we are from enemies to lovers. That is the worst. And I just find this trope is overly used and can get predictable. If you see two characters hating each other so much, you will know they will get happy ending. The sixth tag is about a series or a book that everyone wants an adaptation for, but I don't. I don't know, I enjoy reading, I enjoy gaming, but just for some reasons, movie or like the adaptation is not really my thing. So from my knowledge, there are two that got or may got an adaptation that I just don't know how to feel. Firstly, I have Mistborn by Brandon Sanderson. To me, the charm of the series is you can picture or you can imagine how these characters gonna burn the metals to give them special abilities or flying around the city while tackling the Dark Lord. So I think what's so beautiful about Mistborn, at least to me, is the imagination of the readers. But honestly, we can all agree that we have seen so many failed adaptations. I still remember the real person Dragon Ball. I mean, what the F? That Goku doesn't even look like Goku, or the special effect is just like shite, should we say. Personally, I am just not the biggest fan when books turn into a franchise. Other than Harry Potter, it is just so hard to name one that can do the book series a justice. I mean, look at The Wheel of Time got cancelled and then the finale of the Game of Thrones. All failed. That's why I think Mistborn, such a lively fantasy series, would be better off to have an anime adaptation. So you don't need to worry about, let's say, some characters doesn't match with the description in the book series, or some actors suddenly quit while filming. You can basically keep quite a lot of factors a constant in an anime series. I mean, imagine Mistborn turn into something like the Demon Slayer. Those graphics and the fighting scene is so lively, so smooth, and those like anime series with a movie, perfect. The other one pretty sure got a movie adaptation is The Elden Ring. Please don't ruin this reputation. I am a big fan of Souls game. I love this kind of trial and error and the feeling of success once you defeat a boss. The only one that I still haven't checked out yet is the Demon Souls because it is only on PS3 and PS5 and I only got PS4. But back to the question, why I don't want Elden Ring to have a movie adaptation is only because I think the charm of Souls game is for all the players and this community trying to put this story together. Maybe from the item's description, maybe through dialogue or the fight with the boss, or even from the setting of a scene. We can kind of know the story and it just adds an other layer of mysteries, which I personally love. But if we turn this kind of narrative into a movie adaptation, I'm just not too sure how is it going to be like, what it is going to be about, and most importantly, will I like it or not? I think at least it is not going to be from the player's perspective, or maybe it is about the backstory of this universe. Then coming to the seventh tag, I have actually created my own. Originally, or at least for the tags that I can search for, they may ask you about a character that people seem to like, but I don't, and I think it is shady. So I turn it another way to ask myself a character that people hate, but I love. There are one character at first people don't like, but trust me, she is real good. And she is Nynaeve from the Wheel of Time series. I know, including me, at first when I got into the Wheel of Time series, I don't get Nynaeve. I thought Nynaeve is a bit annoying, always tugging her braids when she can't get what she wants, and she is almost like a control freak. But as the series expands, I just find it very interesting that for the main group of characters, they all got that role that they need to play or like a prophecy that need to be fulfilled. But what I love about Nynaeve is she is so consistent. She doesn't really have an agenda like the rest of the cast, and she's always so selfless. All she wanna do in this world of conflict is within her ability to protect all the ones that she loves, aka the Two River Gang or her lover. And out of all the female main characters, she is the only one that I still enjoy reading. By the way, I'm only missing out the final book of the series. I enjoy the arc of Egwene, but not her personality, and I think Elaine's game is a bit boring. Only Nynaeve stayed true to herself, and basically she is the same Nynaeve from the beginning. But as the series developed, she will enter a stage that I would call socializing. She will explore more about the world and at the same time think about what works the best. I think she is the most well-developed character in this series. The second one, by the way, is Rand. The last tag here is a book or series that everyone thinks is powerful, but I just can't connect to. Here, I think the answer is quite obvious because it is going to be the Sun Eater series by Christopher Ruocchio. This is a series that most people would enjoy, but just for some reasons, I can't even get through the first book. Some may say the first book reads like a prequel, and some may say it is like the weakest in the series. But most people would agree that one should complete the second book. Everything would be great. But I just don't like the opening of this series. It almost reminds me of the Crossroads of Twilight in the Wheel of Time series, where we don't really have any major development. The pacing is definitely slow and it really kills the vibe. That's why I have unhauled my special edition from the Broken Binding because I don't see the need to keep a series that I don't like. But even so, I'm still thinking one day, hopefully one day, I will pick this series up and let's see can I get to the end of second book. And that's it, my most controversial opinions are out in the world. If you disagree with everything I just said, you are valid, but you're also wrong. Just kidding. Let's keep the debate in the comment below. So thank you for watching, guys. If you don't want to miss out any fantasy TBR, wrap-up, reading vlog, or any fun idea like this one, an unpopular opinion book tag, make sure you have subscribed to my channel and like this video. I will see you all real soon. Goodbye.